right now.
If you like horror, hit that notification bell, smash that like button, and push that subscribe button now.
What's the boogeyman?
Hello, Sydney. Welcome to my nightmare. We want the man who did this.
Welcome to Nick Push's Horror Channel.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nick Push. Tonight we're talking Friday the 13th. I got two special guests. I got Ronnie and Blake from the GNAT podcast. Boys, how you doing tonight? Nothing? You guys planned that, didn't you?
I paused to let Ronnie talk, and I thought I was being the nice guy here, but I'm doing great, Nick. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Ronnie, how about you?
Doing great. Just wrapped up all the Christmas festivities. Now we got this dead time between Christmas and New Year's, and then it's back to work.
Back to work, huh? Dude, I've been off since Thursday. I'm already bored. Like, I'm bored
When do you go
out of my
back?
damn mind. I don't go back till next Tuesday. I'm literally bored out of my mind.
So we can count on multiple Scream videos per day leading up to you going back to work.
That's right. I'm gonna just bleed this thing dry.
I know what you mean about being bored, Nick. My last day was Friday, and I went back yesterday.
Do you guys have a good Christmas, though?
Go ahead, Blake.
Yes.
I did too.
I just assumed you guys celebrated Christmas. I probably shouldn't just assume that these days, should I?
Dangerously, you're living dangerously. I know when we ask certain guests about Christmas, you get shut down rather quickly. But yes, we do celebrate Christmas. Christmas was great. Got to see the kid open all kind of presents. Wife opened all kind of presents. I opened all kind of presents. I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
That's right.
It is all about the presents, and it was a good Christmas. What about you, Nick? Did you have a good one, man?
Yeah, it was good.
What was the best Christmas present you got, Nick?
Best Christmas present I got.
What was her name?
I got a new Loomis shirt, actually. Not wearing it now. I'll be busting it out later this week, maybe tomorrow when I do Fancy Talk with Blaster and Bud. But it's my first Loomis shirt. I have so many Halloween shirts. None of them have Loomis on it, so can't go wrong there. All right, first of all, guys, go ahead.
From prison?
What'd you say?
No, I was going to say, has Blaster been released from prison? Will he be on the Fancy Talk podcast?
He's either dead or in prison. I don't know. I haven't heard from him since October, so I have no idea. No, he's fine. He's going to try to make it tomorrow. We will see. Here's what I got to ask you guys, though. What does ATGNAT stand for? I know it, but you guys want to explain that?
Yeah, so Ronnie and I started an audio podcast back in 2016, and we were trying to come up with a name for it. And, I rattled off 3 or 4 names, and he was like, no, it's terrible, it's garbage. And Ronnie looked at me and said, let's just face it, all the good names are taken. So what's the point? And then we looked at each other and we're like, that's it, that's the name. So, that's where Ronnie came up with it. He don't take credit for it, but, and then, we had another friend that plugged our show that we really appreciate that he did that, but he got the name wrong. He says all the great names are taken. So
nice.
Yeah, it's just that simple. That's simple.
That's simple. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let me tell you why I'm excited to have you guys on tonight. So, as you guys know, YouTube is tough, right?
Yeah, it sucks.
We'll get to that in a second. So for me, I started out YouTube, and don't worry, people, we'll get to the Friday the 13th stuff in a little bit. But I started on YouTube maybe, it's probably 4 years ago now. As I was saying, you guys know it can be a struggle. It's fun, but it can be frustrating. So I started out and, like most people, I'm on my phone as you know, Blake has made fun of me many times before. I'm on my phone, sitting in the basement, you know, wearing a polo shirt. And I just got back from work. I'm wearing a polo shirt, and I'm filming videos, and it's just, you know, me, deadpan, just, you know, no background. Who cares, you know? But I was getting frustrated because, you know, you can't get the algorithm right, and you're not getting any views, anything like that. But I had two people that kept me going. One was a guy by the name of John Bruce, who to this day I've still never met. Don't know who he is. He's one of my subscribers. He would comment on all my videos. John, if you're listening, thank you. But he kept me going because he said a lot of nice things about me. He liked watching me. And the other was you guys. I think it probably was you, Ronnie, right? You guys kind of found...
Wasn't me.
It wasn't you. I didn't think so, Blake. You got taste. But Ronnie, you found me, and for some reason you I don't know if you started commenting on my videos. You reached out. I know you guys had me on your show in I think it was like October of 2020, right? But you kept reaching out. You kept commenting, and you kept me going when, you know, I'm not saying I would have stopped going, because at the end of the day, who gives a shit about views? I don't do this for views. You know, I do it because it's an outlet for me to talk horror, to talk about whatever I want to. But I just wanted to, you know, say thank you, because, you know, you don't realize it, but you reaching out to someone who's puts himself out there on camera, and reaching out and saying, hey, you're doing a good job. I like watching you. It means a lot. So I just wanted to say thank you, Roddy, because it did mean a lot back then. Now I gotten to know you, and it, you know, I don't really give a fuck. But back then it meant a lot, you know.
Well, I mean, this was back during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
I was bored. I wasn't at work. So, and we had talked about taking our podcast to YouTube for the longest times, but for job reasons, just never worked out. So when the pandemic first started, I got into Halloween news, and I would go through this channel and then that channel. And then it was mostly douchebags, you know, just their opinion is all that matters. And now most of these people, ironically, have 50, 60, 70,000 subscribers, and the ones that people go to. And then it came across you. And like you said, you're in a room, no stupid background. You can't say that anymore. And you're giving out good content. And I'm sitting here going, this dude could possibly be a serial killer, but he's got good ideas, and I like his rap. And I reached out to you, and I was like, look, keep up the good work. You're great. And you actually wrote back, and then you came on for 31 Days of Horror, and then you came on for the fantasy draft, and now we're pretty decent. I don't know. Is it friends, Blake?
I think you can call us friends.
All right. I'll say
Yeah.
friends then.
Yeah.
But when I reached out to you, selfishly, I was like, if we ever start doing horror stuff on YouTube, I want to be associated with people like this, the real people, and not people saying whatever to cater to their chat room or to sell out and get subs. I want real people. And I don't know, that's good to know that, you know, that kept you going, because I mean, where would you be if you didn't have this channel right now? Suicided?
I would not be suicided. I'll tell you that. I'd probably be a millionaire. I'd probably be productive. But
so what you really are trying to say is that we saved your life, and it's a Christmas miracle. So that's what you should have named. What you should have named this whole stream, Christmas Miracle.
That's right.
Starring Nick Wood.
That's right. So what did we do that night to it? Or that it was what the hell was that? The Robert Englund one, the 976 Evil and Piranha, I think.
Yes.
I think you probably don't remember because you guys have done so many of those. But yeah, that was fun. All right. Quick question. So you guys have, as you said, transitioned from podcast to YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys did that. I think it was earlier this year, right?
8 months ago.
8 months ago, and you guys are already, you know, pretty past 1,000 subs. How the hell did you guys do that so fast? I know why I'm subbed to you. It's because of you guys' chemistry, and I like what you have to say, and you don't talk about the same bullshit that everyone else talks about. Hence, you guys just did a stream last week about Santa with muscles, which as you said, I think in the opening, nobody else on YouTube is talking about Santa with muscles. So how have you gotten so many subs so quickly, do you guys think? Tell us the secret.
Halloween kills / Halloween ends.
Yeah, I can answer it for you, Nick. Ronnie made a Halloween short that did, what is it, Ronnie, 30,000 views?
Like almost 50.
Yeah, so and that's probably responsible for anywhere from 500 to 750 subs right there. That one 90 or 60-second short that Ronnie made.
Yeah, 85% of our subscribers come from Halloween Ends content, so it's mainly horror fans, which puts us in a precarious position because Blake hates horror, and I love
Not
horror.
true.
And we want to cater to the people that are actually watching and tuning in every time we do something. But at the same time, we don't want to be pigeonholed into strictly horror. So I guess we're, it's because of the horror videos, but we're trying to, expand out.
Yeah.
We really want to get into politics, Nick. And speaking of that, who'd you vote for?
Who did I vote for? I think A, not going to tell you, and B, if you pay attention to subtle little things that in my videos, little comments I've made where I've maybe let things slip, you can probably figure it out. But we're not going there.
Nah.
But if you pay attention, you can probably figure it out. Real quick before I get to the next question, got a super chat here. The Shape of Horror podcast. That is Bud, sends in 99 cents. Thank you, my man.
Big spender.
Big spender, that's right. At first I thought I saw $9.99 and I was excited, and now it's just 99 cents, so we'll skip it. But just kidding. Give the Shape of Horror podcast a sub, guys. He will be on here tomorrow with me and possibly Blaster if he gets out of jail. Kidding.
Yeah, I hope the charity that Bud donates to doesn't take a hit after that donation.
We'll get to the chat here in a second, guys. I'm terrible with the chat sometimes. Let's see.
Is Keith in the chat? I need to talk to Keith.
No Keith yet. We got Diamond Rattler. We got Bud. James Morant. Lavelle Jackson.
James Morant. He's a good one.
Scott Stevens. Yes, he is. David Irwin. What's going on? So thank you guys for tuning in. Real quick. I've said real quick like 5 times tonight, but we haven't been
Crutch
quick.
word.
It's okay. Yeah. Real quick, and then I said it again. Jesus.
Jesus.
It's that wine. It's that wine, man. I'm telling you.
Hey, Nick, real quick. Do you have any New Year's resolutions? Because I'm sure that's going to be everybody's video the next 3 days. Like, what's your big resolution going into 2023?
My big resolution is, I guess, to save more money, man. But it's hard, especially now.
Look at that wall.
Yeah. I mean, this inflation is absolutely ridiculous. So my resolution is to be smarter with my money. Realize there's a pandemic, or not pandemic. Pandemic.
Dude, where you been? Are you okay? Are you okay?
Calm down.
It's the wine.
Blake, take over.
Yeah, take over, Blake. It's just save more money. Be smarter with my money is my New Year's resolution. Who knows what the hell's gonna happen? We all need a nest egg, but it's hard when you go grocery shopping and you go to Aldi and it's still like $120 every week. So what are you gonna do?
What are your standard go-tos when you go grocery shopping? What's your standard go-to foods?
I'm a chips guy, man. Chips and dip. I could eat chips and dip every meal of the
Ruffles?
week. Depends on.
Are you one of these sickos that does Doritos and ranch dressing?
Yes.
I do too.
Yes. I love ranch, dude. Have you ever done Cool Ranch Doritos in like queso blanco? Have you tried that?
No, but I will now.
It's good.
As you can see, I'm a picture of health.
Dude, I'm telling you, the little crystals from the Cool Ranch, as you dip in there, they get stuck in the queso. So every time you dip in, it's so good, dude. It's so good. Try it. I'm telling you. You're gonna text me. And
So
be
now
like, dude,
I'm picturing you coming out with like $120 worth of potato chips.
it's close. It's close. How about you guys? Any resolutions? Blake, come on. You gotta have something.
Mine's not as deep as yours. I was thinking about seeing how far I could go with the clean shave thing. This is the first time in a year that I've been clean shaven. I'm thinking, what if I go 2023 clean shaven all year. So
That'll be tough.
I mean,
How
it won't last.
How often do you shave if you're clean shaven?
I think you got to do it every day.
Do you? Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's brutal. How about you, Ronnie?
Nah, but I would love to save money. I got a kid who gets his permit in 5 months, so I got to save money to, buy a vehicle soon. So I'm right there with you, man. I gotta do something.
Little advice, and I know this is not what this show is about.
Gamble.
Put it all red.
No. So used car prices are fucking they've been sky high this past year. Carvana is about to go fucking bankrupt, so there's probably going to be a surplus. So try to hold out for that to happen. But that's a whole other thing. Not financial advice, anyone.
What's Carvana?
It's,
Carvana.
Carvana, yeah. You know those used. It's looks like a used car vending machine that popped up all over last year or during the pandemic. Their stock price was like $360, now it's down to under $4. But that's, like I said, another story. Ronnie, how about you? Any New Year's resolutions?
No, I usually don't do them because you just end up breaking them. I've gotten where I do like the John Gordon one word thing and let that be how your life is run for the year. Last year it was like grateful, be grateful for everything you have, and this year I haven't decided on a word yet. I'm leaning towards like flexible, be flexible in everything in life. Like I'm a person that fears change and doesn't like to try new things. So
maybe once in a while bend over, touch your toes.
Exactly, which is tough. Palms to the ground never happens. So yeah, that's what I usually do because when I would make resolutions, it'd be over with by the second or third.
Yeah, agreed. All right, last question, then we're going to get into the list.
This has to have cleared out the chat.
I assume so, yeah. No, there's still 12 people here. Oh, you guys are loyal. We appreciate it. All right, so since your transition to YouTube, best and worst part of that transition. Best part about being on YouTube, worst part about being on YouTube. Ronnie, go.
Best part is it seems you can grow an audience faster. The best part is also we brought most of the people from our audio podcast over, and they have helped out.
Did you? How'd you do that?
Well, there's 6 of us, so you don't have to carry. Me and Blake don't have to carry everything. In theory, we would break it up. We haven't here in the last month or so, but we have a lot of help. The worst part is definitely the editing. Cannot stand the editing. It takes up most of the time. I think that might be the number one complaint for anybody. Yeah. With a YouTube channel, but the editing is absolutely awful. That's the reason we're trying to transition to more live shows because there's less editing. The problem is I've got Livewire over there that may say stuff that gets us in trouble. So
yeah,
I'm so sick of this gimmick of you making it out like I'm the reason that the edit button. The only reason you have to edit our videos is the stuff that you do, and you know that, and Nick knows that too.
Your mic went out.
Oh, okay.
All right, Blake, how about you? What's been your favorite part or best part about being on YouTube?
I was about to say making memories with my brother, but we're going to go in a completely different direction now. The fun part is just actually getting to interact with people because on the audio podcast, you don't really get that. Ronnie would read emails every now and then, but with YouTube, you get to interact with these people in the comment section and everything like that. And it's been really fun. And just these other YouTubers, including yourself, reaching out to us has been really cool. The crappy part of this is the stupid schedule that Ronnie has and the content schedule that he wants to put out every single week and freaking out when I'm saying, hey, I'm going to be 30 minutes late getting home from my kid's event. It's, what are we going to do? We're supposed to talk about Santa with muscles this week. That's the aggravating part of it.
It's literally never happened. Literally never happened.
Oh, man. People don't realize, like, everyone, not everyone, most people on camera like this, like we are now, have day jobs, have families, have all kinds of shit going on, and it's like it can be a little much. So I know for myself, it got to with Halloween Ends and even Halloween Kills too. It got to a month before the movie, where it's go time. It's go time. Need to make videos. I'm burnt out, and I've taken breaks. I've been like, you know what? If I have to, it becomes like a job almost. And I literally will take a month off because I'm just like, you know what? I do this because it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy, like you guys said, interacting with people, meeting people like you guys, talking to all my viewers and stuff like that. But the moment it's become like a job, I gotta back off because it's not why I got into this. It's never gonna be a job to me. It's gonna be an outlet to, debate things, to talk about the things I like to talk about that, my friends in real life might not be into. So the moment it becomes like a job to me, I gotta back off because I'm sure you guys felt that, after your 31 for 31 or what do you guys call it? Your October.
31
October.
days.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys had to be burnt out, right?
I mean, I think, what did we take, 2 weeks off after that, Blake?
No, you wouldn't allow it.
Well, here's the thing, Nick. What do you think about some of these YouTubers that have established themselves, whether it be because of the pandemic or, luck or just hard work, saying that if you don't treat it like a job, then it's never going to be your full-time job? I mean, I know what I say to that. I say, I don't want it to be my full-time job. You just hit it on the head. It's a release. It's therapeutic for me in a way. Get to spend time with my brother. We get to talk about movies that we would normally talk about, to each other just in a room. And I don't want it to be a job. I really don't want it to be a job. I mean, if there's a way to earn $1 or $2 off of this, great. But I mean, I'm blessed in the fact that I'm okay financially, and I'm not dependent on 47 Scream videos a week to keep the lights on.
Brag.
Yeah, I mean, I've done the math on what I kind of estimate some of these big YouTube channels are making, and they're making bank. But the people that, are borderline, that, haven't thought it through or think they can do it, I just hope that they're smart enough to actually sit down, crank out the numbers, come up with a plan where if something takes over YouTube, because technology is always changing. It'd be like MySpace in 2004. If you could make money on MySpace in 2004, who cares? MySpace is gonna be around forever, right?
Small rumblings that Elon is going to bring some kind of video to Twitter in the near future. I
did hear that. So I just hope that these people, and I'm not talking about the people with 100,000, 200,000 subs that, or like someone like Dead Meat James who has like millions of subs, they're fine. They got an audience that'll follow them anywhere. But I hope anyone that, is just using this for where they can, just squeak by, I just hope they're thinking it through because the thing about technology is it's always changing. It kind of reminds me of, I remember being in my 20s, it was a while ago, but I remember being in my early 20s and a long time ago. I remember in my early 20s, there was always this bar. I was in Milwaukee at the time. There was always this bar called Buckhead. It was the place to be every Friday and Saturday night, right? Place to be. That place was never going to go out of business because it was cool. Well, one day it was determined that wasn't the place anymore. Went out of business in like a couple months. So that's how I think some of these, platforms are. The moment society or whatever's in, or young people or whoever determines that no, it's going to be TikTok now. YouTube is out, TikTok is in. At some point things can change on a dime. So I just hope that these people, are thinking it through. And I know a lot of them are. So like if I could do this full time, would I? I don't know. We're never going to find that out because I'm never going to be able to. But like you said, right now it's for fun. So.
Hey, Nick, I'm 36 years old. Are you older or younger than me?
Older.
Okay.
I'm right in between you guys.
I was just wondering. I was curious.
Yeah. I look way older than you. You look young, Blake. It must be the clean
Hey,
shaven.
thanks, man.
Yeah, it must be the clean shaven.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Are we ready to get into our list here?
I guess. I don't know. I mean,
Bud says, love the TED Talk on YouTubing. See, I go on a tangent. All right.
oh, look, who said that? Kick him out of the chat. That's how you handle that shit right there, Nick. You just toss him out of there. The only way.
Ronnie, Shane Emerson says that you're the killer in Stream 6.
Really?
He might be. He might be, Shane. He might be.
Look, they're not diverse enough to have a fat killer in Scream because, one, you'd know right off the bat that Ghostface weighs 300 pounds. And can you imagine a fat Ghostface trying to chase down the victims? He had to give up after about 40 yards, take breaks, things like that.
Just the suspects list would like be dwindled down to like, a token person. So
yeah, it's like in part 1 where they did the whole showing the boot of the sheriff.
Yeah,
like he's the one jumping through the windows at the beginning of it and chasing these people down. No, he'd blow a knee easily.
I think the killer is over there eating Doritos and queso dip.
That's a great question, Nick. Before you get us started, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go.
If they came to you, Hollywood, and said you can be the main villain of any horror franchise for one movie, who do you choose?
Oh man, that's a better question than anything else we're going to talk about this stream. If in any movie, if I could be in any movie,
Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
No, I'd want my face shown so nobody was wearing a mask. God, I'd probably go. See, I couldn't even do Elm Street because I don't want to be in a makeup chair.
Okay, let me change it for you just a second because this is really like hurting you. If you could be the hero in any of these franchises or the villain, I'll give you either one.
I'd be the hero. I'd be Dr. Loomis's son, man. Go ahead, Blake.
I would be Keanu Reeves' character in Knock Knock.
What's that? I've never heard of that.
2 chicks knock on his door late at night and harass him with sex and torture.
That's a real movie?
That's a real movie, Knock Knock. Eli Roth.
Is it called Knock Knock, Ronnie?
Yeah, it's Knock Knock.
Yeah,
Push the Sport Channel. How do you not know that?
I don't know, man. Dude, my viewers know more about some of this shit than I do, It's crazy. These people are dedicated.
Hey, for a $50 super chat, Nick will take that shirt off right there. So just putting it out there for you guys. $50.
Hey, I'm doing Nick's job here, but Scott Royston in the chat says that he would be Tommy Jarvis, and I think that's a fantastic answer.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially the Tom Matthews version. I mean, that's just fun. All right, we're gonna get into the list here. I told you guys absolutely nothing about this except for what the list is, what the title of this show is. Top WTF moments. For those of you living under a rock, WTF stands for what the fuck. Top what the fuck moments in the Friday the 13th franchise. So I told these guys nothing, didn't tell them what it means. For me, I took it as moments when I'm watching one of these movies and there's something ridiculous happens that I literally just have to say, what the fuck? So I have no idea how these guys took it, but we're going to get to our list right now. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go from the most charismatic person in the room to the least charismatic person in the room. So we're going to go Blake, Ronnie, and then me. So Blake, Ronnie always calls you the talent. Do not let us down. We got our top 5. You guys got 5, right? Did I tell you 5?
Yeah, Blake. You see what he did there? This is a YouTube trick that I've learned. You go last. The host goes last. That's why your thing is the last thing that the audience hears. Like it's the most important.
Oh, okay. Well,
is that
I like that.
Yeah, because you'll be the last one speaking, so it's like you're laying your superiority onto us.
That's true. That was the
dominance.
Plan. That was dominance. The plan.
Well, listen, I've been on record saying that I like the Friday the 13th franchise more than I like the Halloween franchise. And that doesn't mean I still think Halloween is the greatest horror movie of all time. But I think overall as a franchise, I like Friday the 13th more. But after making this list, and I know you said make it 5, I originally had 18, and now I've got it down to 9. I don't know if I feel the same way. Like,
you can't go by that.
There's so many problems, and
can't go by that.
And mine are in no particular order. It ain't like, least to greatest or whatever. But I'm going to start off with Friday the 13th, Part 7. Tina's dad comes back at the end and pulls Jason underwater. It's what are we doing? Like, so in the opening, she uses her powers and causes the pier to collapse, right?
She's telekinetic.
Yeah, the pier collapses on her dad, killing him, drowning him. And I'm assuming 10, 11, 12 years later, she tries to bring her dad back, and she brings Jason back instead. And at the end of this movie, the climax of this movie, she's concentrating really hard, and her dad comes up and pulls Jason underwater, and he looks normal, not like he's been underwater for 10 years. And it's just like, what the F are we doing? You know?
Still, though, they originally were going to have him look zombified, Blake,
Yeah.
but they went against that. I mean, originally they were going to have him looking like he'd been underwater that whole time. But, I mean, she brings her abusive dad back. Like, she kills her dad at the beginning because he's a wife beater. He's a horrible human. Now, granted, he is married to somebody that looks like she plays in the LPGA, but that's no reason to beat her.
It's a great league.
True. Blake, before you go, Ronnie, I do have to say that is on my list too. It was my number 4. I'm gonna switch it up to number 5, just because you mentioned it. I absolutely agree. That is, what the hell? How does that make any sense? And that's how you're gonna all the telekinetic shit that she put the Jason through. You know, electrocuting him, ripping off his mask, dropping a house on him, setting him on fire, throwing nails at him, and he's taken out by, like you said, her dad.
Yeah.
He's not decayed, jumping out of the water out of nowhere, you know. And then at the end, you know, I can't remember exactly, but that guy Nick says, Jason, you know, after he's passed out, and she goes, he's taken care of, or something like that. And it's like, really? That's how you end that fucking movie?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you think about all the cool ways that they got rid of Jason in the other movies, and then you look at the just unlimited possibilities with this girl who has these powers, and you go with that. It's just
Shane just asked, are we dropping lists in the chat? Yeah, guys, if you want to drop your lists in the chat, go for it. We'll read the chat after we do our 3, and then we'll see if anyone in the chat has any WTF moments. But yeah, I agree with you, Blake. It's a ridiculous moment.
How about the fact that she brought a dead person back to life twice? She's got the ability to resurrect people.
Yeah, ridiculous. It's not on my list. I don't know if it's on your guys' list. Probably not, because I know, especially for you, Ronnie, I know it's your favorite movie. But one thing that always bugged me, and it almost made my list, about Friday Part 6, is Tommy. His solution to stopping Jason is just chaining him to the bottom of the ocean, or bottom of the lake. And it's like, he goes through all that. He's not comfortable with Jason being dead in a coffin, but he's comfortable with just, you know, having him chained to the bottom of the lake. It just bugs the shit out of me.
That's actually one on my list.
Shit.
No, I mean, we can talk about it right now since you brought it up, and I think I'm next anyway.
Yep.
But I've got Tommy Jarvis digging up Jason and him being resurrected by lightning, which is the cool part of it. But looking at it from just logic, why would Tommy Jarvis need to dig up Jason? He got his revenge on Jason when he hacked him into pieces and killed him in Part 4. That should have been the therapeutic part. Now, granted, the guy that came back, was it Roy? Roy comes back and screws his life up even more, but he still knows that Jason Voorhees is dead. Jason Voorhees is dead. So how is digging up Jason, opening up the coffin to see that he's dead, and burning the body going to help him? I mean, you can't kill him again. So the whole getting rid of the demons thing at the beginning of that is just ridiculous. But I guess when you factor in that Tom Matthews is playing an insane person, that there shouldn't be much logic in it. I thought you were going to go with when he stabs him with part of the fence and it's like the whole body's just made of paper.
Yeah.
And then after he's struck by lightning, he's 275 and jacked.
Yeah, right. No, what does he say? Seeing it won't, but destroying it will. So he's saying that it's going to stop his hallucinations or something like that. Really?
Yeah, that's my WTF for Part 6. I mean, he's digging him up to get revenge, and he got his revenge in Part 4. So
yeah,
I don't understand that, and I love.
Well, let me counter argue this for a second. That obviously you hit the nail on the head, Ronnie. He is crazy, and he does believe Jason is dead.
They played straight in that movie.
He just wants to finish him off by completely burning that body till there's nothing left, because this guy has taken an axe to the head. He was hung in Part 3, and I'm talking about by rope. Part 4, he took a machete to the head and slid down it and was still moving his hand before Tommy chopped him up into itty bitty pieces. Yeah, so
And he was
I could
cremated
see,
apparently in part 5.
and not yeah, and you when you think that this guy killed his mom and we don't know whatever happened to Trish, his life is ruined, his family's ruined. He wanted to completely finish it, Ronnie. He wanted to make sure there's nothing left. I know he may be dead, but that body is still there, and I'm going to completely burn it off. Now, I don't agree with why he did it, but I'm just trying to justify it, just to ruin your list.
Well, I mean, my list is not ruined. I mean, we talked about this on our channel when we're doing our Friday videos. Tommy Jarvis is responsible for every death from part 6 on. I mean,
Yes.
he is the one that's responsible for all that, not Jason. I mean, all he did was bring him back to life.
Absolutely. All right, let's see if we got any WTF moments in the chat. Shane says Mark wheeling backwards down the stairs in part 2. Yeah, that stair. First of all, that scene is awesome, but the fact that there's stairs there that are that long, and the wheelchair just stays upright is absolutely ridiculous. But
I think the better scene would have been seeing Mark go up those stairs.
It's funny because I think the guy was really in a wheelchair and he's dead now. But yeah.
Yeah, he was the first one to actually die. I read that.
Was he?
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, Blake, what do you got for another one?
You never win, Nick.
Yeah, I went with Tina's dad.
Yeah,
Tina's
he
dad.
piggybacked
It was
mine.
on my list. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go. Let's see, what do I want to pick next? I'm gonna go Friday the 13th Part 3. This is what I got wrote down. I got Chris having sex with Jason in a backstory and then regretting it when she woke up. And I don't get why we get this story.
He impregnated.
We get this backstory, and I honestly I think she's making it up so she don't have to have relations with Rick, who is a 45-year-old who's after Chris. But anyway,
Driving a
so
punch bug.
we get this flashback of Jason chasing her through the woods, and the way I see the story is they paused for a minute to have sex next to a tree, and they both happen to wake up at the same time. Jason just happens to be wearing the clothes he stole off Harold's clothesline about an hour before, but this takes place years ago. Yeah. So the whole scene is just bizarre and ridiculous, and I don't understand it. I don't know why it was needed.
Well,
I don't.
It
wasn't needed.
She woke up in her own bed, apparently, right? And her parents never talked about it. You think Jason drugged her?
He Bill Cosby'd her.
Yeah. Why did they do that? I've never understood that either. I completely forgot about that, or that would have made my list too. But that's absolutely absurd.
And does he remember her? Like, because at the end, when he don't have the mask on and she wakes up in the boat, he busts through the door and he's all, he's excited, he's smiling and grinning.
Not to mention, he purposely lifts up his mask when he's hanging there. He had the rope off a little bit. He does it on purpose to kind of snarl at her, and she's like, "It's you." He did that on purpose. You can't convince me that he didn't do that on purpose. The look on his face, he did it on purpose. He definitely remembers her, and God, ridiculous. Yep, I agree. That's a good one, Blake. What do you got, Ron?
All right, my next one, I'm going to go back to the wheelchair guy before somebody in the chat steals it.
Okay.
My WTF is, how the hell is he going to be a camp counselor? He's in a wheelchair. He can't go on the nature walks. He can't wheel the chair into the water to save anybody drowning. He can't get to the top of the lifeguard tower to sit. So what the hell is he going to do? Is he going to be a cook? Why is he out there? Because there's literally nothing he can do. I guess he could do the archery range, but he's in a forest in a wheelchair. He's useless.
I will pull up Blake and give you a counterpoint on that. I'd rather trust my kid with Mark than the pervert dude. Who the hell is that? That's always after Terry and he's stealing her clothes. Yeah. I think he was. Didn't you guys make Scott? That's it. Yeah. I would rather. At least Mark is. He seems like a good guy, but you're right. Like, you're in the woods, maybe if it was like an after school program or something in a gym, You know,
They missed an opportunity to have a chase scene where Jason is chasing him through the woods.
Dude. Could you imagine?
Yes, I can. It'd be great.
Pretty inclusive, actually, back in 1981 to have him there and kill him. You know, it's pretty good.
Yeah, they did that, and they killed the pregnant one in part 3, which you always hear pregnant, and you think, okay, they're going to live, and then boom, dead.
Yeah, crazy.
What, Ronnie? Since you mentioned Mark, I'm just going to say this, and this isn't part of my list, but it was one of the options. Is Mark's about to have sex with someone? Now, I've spent all day on a certain hub researching this, and I really wish this scene would have played out and Jason would have got him afterwards, because I don't know how it was going to work.
There's nothing I can say.
We don't know. They played a game for a position, right? So we don't know. Do we know?
Like putting Play-Doh back in the cup.
Do we know who won that game that him and Vicky played, and what position was chosen?
Mustache ride.
Right.
That's the only way it works. That's the only way the science works. The
Yeah.
science doesn't lie. That's all we could do.
I've heard science doesn't lie. I've heard that a lot the last couple of years. Yeah. All right. You asking who I voted for? Never mind. All right. All right. My number, whatever we're on, 4 is going to be from Friday 4, and it is involving a guy by the name of Rob. And, he's a big hulking guy that's, out to avenge his sister's death and look for Jason, right? And he gets face to face with Jason in the basement, and he dies so easily. And, it's the famous line where he's yelling, "He's killing me! He's killing me!" It's just fucking ridiculous. This is the badass guy that was hunting Jason. I mean, Crispin Glover gave him a better fight. Like, it's just... It just doesn't make any sense. Yes, it's comical, but it's just like I just don't get the fact that there wasn't some badass scene. You just have a poorly lit basement where was it like some type of garden tool that Jason's just chopping him in the chest with. It just doesn't make any sense.
Claw
to me.
hammer.
Yeah. So
It was just so out of place because you expected him to, and nobody except for Paul. Paul squares up with him in part 2. And takes him for a second. Yeah. So it's not unheard of that they would actually have a guy fight, Jason. In part 3, the guy gets his head squished.
Yeah.
Really
Who wins, Rick or what the hell's in it? Or Rob? Who do you think wins a fight? Rick or Rob? Rick versus Rob. Who wins? Because they're both pretty big guys. You see Rick with his shirt off in the hay, and you see Rob's a pretty built guy. Who wins a fight? They both just got destroyed by Jason.
They both literally did nothing. And,
yeah.
I mean,
Let's talk about Rick for a second. I feel like he was kind of robbed of his showdown with Jason. Doesn't it feel like that?
Yes.
And that dude's pulling hay bales up into the barn. That requires strength.
Yeah, with Chris on top of one of them, I believe. Or no, not on the hay bale, just on the rope. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then he just is grabbed in between the house or whatever it is and gets his head squished.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Real quick, we do have a super chat, a very generous super chat from Scott Royston. Sends in $10. First of all, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Scott says that's actually not true about Tommy. He put Jason back in the lake at the end, saying it's finally over, Jason's home. It was when Tina brought him back at the beginning of part 7, thinking it was her dad. So, yeah, I get that, Scott. I think kind of what we were saying, though, is like Jason wasn't bothering anyone at all because he was literally dead. And then Tommy brought him back, and then, Tommy, you're right. I think wasn't Tommy reading some kind of like occult books or something that said Jason had to go to his final resting place, right?
Yeah, put him back in his final resting place. But the thing is, he was dead in the grave, not going anywhere.
So I guess that brings up, what's his final resting place? The time he died in the water, or the time he died, in the grave? I mean,
I would think that Tommy played it wrong because his final resting place in the water as a child, it was not his final resting place. But getting cut up in that cabin by the boy was going to put him in that grave forever if Tommy hadn't dug him up.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I see your point, though, Scott.
All those devil worshiping books are wrong. He should have been reading something else.
All right, we each should have 3 left. Blake, what do you got?
I'm gonna go Friday the 13th Part 2, and I still feel this way that Part 2 is probably my favorite in the franchise. I bounce back and forth between that 3 and 6, but I'm gonna go Friday 13th Part 2, and we all know the scene I'm talking about. Y'all remember when the cop chases Jason back to his shack?
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty long ways in the woods. We see him going across this path and jumping over this puddle and going through this and that, and well, later on in the movie, Jason chases Jenny back to the shack, and we get the cool scene when Jenny goes in there and she's looking around at this crazy shack. And in the background, or in the window in the back, you can see Jason coming up on his shack. I thought that was really cool. But my question to you guys is, how did Paul find these two? Because Paul was knocked out in the cabin. How did he wake up and know where to go to find these two? And yes, we will, after you guys discuss that, we will talk about the toilet in the shack.
That's a good question.
I don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer for that either. That's a really good question. First of all, let's talk about the first scene you said with the cop running after Jason. How creepy, for a daytime scene, how creepy is it? The cop's driving on that skinny ass road, woods all along both sides of it, and you just see someone quickly just sprint through there. I think that's creepy as shit for a daytime scene.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's just great. Like that would literally make me say, "What the hell?" But you bring up a good point, Blake. How does Paul know where to go? Because it's a long scene. The final chase with Ginny after Paul's essentially knocked out, it's pretty long. She goes from into another cabin where she pisses herself, and Jason falls off the chair.
The rat calls her to piss herself, but not the baghead maniac.
But you bring up a good point. Unless there was really no screaming in there. She was quietly talking to Jason.
Maybe he's a tracker. He saw the footprints. He saw the tracks.
Maybe yeah. Well,
did Jason dart across the road in front of that cop to lure him into the woods? Was that the deal?
Why else would he, right?
And where did the cop car go? Because
the cop car should have been blocking the road for the rest of the
right. And I think he left the door open, if I'm not mistaken, too. That should have brought up some red flags on the way. Or how did they get to the bar and not see the cop car? Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. When everybody went to the bar, they would have saw the cop car.
Yeah, because
does Jason have running water going to that toilet, or is he going down to the lake and filling up a jug every time?
Talking about for the toilet?
Yeah, for his toilet.
I think he found a toilet in the woods and he doesn't know how it works, and he's just using it and it's just filling up, and he's taking something to just scoop it out and throw it in the woods or something.
He doesn't know how it works. He's not stupid.
Oh, he's not, huh?
You seen that face?
I want a deleted scene of Jason taking a shit.
I mean, where does he do that? Shouldn't there be piles in the woods, when they're walking through there? There's a
but they talk about bears, right? Because Paul's talking about bears going after chicks on their periods. So maybe people just assume it's bears.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to bring up the fact that he had Terry laying there in the pile of dead bodies, Blake, in the cabin at the end of the movie.
Very curious to why Terry was picked to bring back to the shack, other than everybody else.
You think Jason? Yeah. He saw those jean shorts. That's why.
But the cop was in there too, though.
All right, Ronnie, what do you got for your third here?
Well, I'm gonna go down the list here, and we'll stick to the toilet humor. Nobody ever wipes their ass in the Friday the 13th series right before they get killed. Part 3 has 2 instances of this. Harold at the beginning of it, and they all have outside porta potty / outhouses to use as well. Makes 0 sense. So Harold at the beginning of it gets killed. He doesn't wipe when he gets up. The Cheech and Chong ripoff, I think his name is Chuck. He's 70. Yeah. And I'm going to echo what Nick said a few months ago. Why are these old people with these young kids? Yes, I know how old they are. They're 50, so they have to be the drug dealers. He doesn't wipe either. And in part 5, Demon, he doesn't wipe. So it's just, I know what somebody's going to say, oh, you pull up and run too, but none of them run. They just pull their pants up and then walk to see what's going on. You could wipe your ass for 2 seconds and then go check out.
Even Marcy in the original, I don't think wipes.
I don't think so either.
It's a waste of time. That's what Liver King said. Hey, Ronnie, Nick, Chuck was 23 at the time of filming Friday 13th Part 3, if y'all can believe that.
That is a rough 23. That's city miles.
Dang, dude.
That's like ancient civilization worker miles.
You know what I found out the other day? Not to jump up, just to stick on this subject. In the original Halloween, Charles Cypher's bracket was 38. Doesn't he look 50?
Well, he looks 150 in Halloween Kills.
Oh, yeah. So. Yeah. Like literally, he's 38 years old.
I can believe that.
I can see that because 40. Believe it or not, Nick, I know him more from Major League.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I associate him more with Major League than I do Halloween. So, and he, I believe him to be in his 40s in Major League, late 40s. So, I was going to ask you real quick.
Major League was 89, man. Or
yes.
Was
yeah.
So
yes, 89.
Yeah, you're right.
So that'd be 48. Yeah, okay.
Going back to the Porta-John, I've asked Ronnie this question before, and we don't know. What's with the moon symbol that's on the door of a Porta-John? Do you have any idea, or outhouse, I should say? Do you have any idea what that's about?
We looked that up one.
Great question.
Because I think it's the same symbols on the outhouse in Young Guns too.
That is a good question. It's gotta.
We looked that up one time, Blake.
It can't just be like some kind of label. It's got to have a meaning because I've seen it many times. You're right. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so we just said Ronnie, right?
Yeah.
All right, so my number 3 is going to be from a movie that could have a lot of these moments. It's Jason Goes to Hell. Okay. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the moment where Jason is reborn. So you have, the demon Jason crawling around, and Creighton Duke says, what is it? From a Voorhees he can be killed, and through a Voorhees he can be reborn. And you get the hell's that guy named Steven saying, hey Duke, does the Voorhees have to be living? And then you get Jason crawling through the dead lady's vagina to be reborn. And this actress had no idea that they were going to do that. It was a stunt, or it was like a dummy or something. But the fact that they had Jason crawl through her vagina to be reborn is just, absurd. So that just kind of made me say, like, what the hell are you guys doing? And there was a lot of that in that movie. And I'm not as down on Jason Goes to Hell as a lot of people. I think it's pretty fun, actually. And I had a lot of nostalgia with it. But the fact that, all of a sudden Jason can be killed by a special dagger, and he's got a sister, and there's some Voorhees mansion or something, is just ridiculous. So that's kind of my what the fuck moment is that whole sequence right there.
They kill him on a playground, don't they?
Yeah.
That's a jungle gym and
yeah. By some 40-year-old guy in a Letterman's jacket, It's absurd.
I had that on my list. I just had it labeled the Jason worm, the whole, eating of the heart and things. But I guess if you're going to try something new with a franchise, try something new. And that's what they did. They just made it where Jason could go from body to body. I'm like you. I'm not it's not my favorite, but I'm not totally down on that. I don't know if I would have liked it if that version of Jason was throughout the whole movie, because it was just so cartoonish, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention, I get why people don't like it, but if you're binge watching this franchise and you get to the 9th movie, and you've seen Jason just be at a camp, be in New York, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air where it's like, okay, it's something fucking different here, at least, Yes, it's a little ridiculous, but the gore in that movie is not bad.
No, it's really good.
Yeah, so, but I get why people don't like it, but if that movie came out today, it'd be like Halloween Ends, as far as the fan reactions. So
Well, spoiler alert, most movies that come out today are going to get the reaction of Halloween Ends because
true.
nobody's happy with anything.
That's true.
And, we were talking about YouTube channels. Being fake outraged sells more than saying, hey, the movie was okay.
Oh, absolutely. I got so much shit for not being as down on it as everyone else, and I lost so many subs. Not that I care, but it's like, dude, I'm just telling you guys what I thought.
I mean, who would
That's
unsub because you liked Halloween Ends?
A lot of people. Like I lost like 20.
Sick human beings.
Crazy, huh? Well, it's because why do people watch these channels? So they can hear someone else, someone that they think has some pedigree, affirming what they believe. So that's just human nature these days, and it's kind of sad. Like I like listening to channels where they're going against what I believe or what I think, because it's interesting to me. As long as they're not being assholes and I'm not being an asshole, I think it's interesting to debate things like that. So, but I think most people just want someone to confirm what they already think. A little pat on the back. So I just think that's the way it is these days.
All right, we're back to number 4.
Yeah. Yep. Blake, you're up, my man.
I'm gonna agree with you, Nick. I'm gonna go Jason Goes to Hell, but I'm gonna go with the opening scene where the FBI raids Jason. The last time we saw Jason, there was an Asian kid laying in the bottom of the sewer in Manhattan, and now
Why are those cows there? I just noticed those cows. Why are those cows there?
well, it's just one cow. This is a horse.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that either.
I'm on the carnivore diet. Meat only.
I'm sorry.
All right, what was I saying?
Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
No,
FBI.
we open up. Somehow Jason's back at Crystal Lake. No explanation. He's chasing around Denise from Roadhouse.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, I just realized we never find out what happens to Denise in Roadhouse. That's I'm talking about in the movie Roadhouse. Like the last time we see her, she's exercising. Brad Wesley had went upside her head, and
she's not a listener.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but anyway,
I assume she ended up with Red, right?
No, she ended up with the bouncer. Come on.
But anyway, all right. Sorry, guys. So
dude played the fat clown in Batman Returns too. He's the fat clown. He's the fat clown in Batman Returns.
I just watched that the other day. Yes, you're right.
He's the one laying in the water.
No, the movie Nick needs to watch with him in it was it Cheerleader Massacre, Ronnie?
Cheerleader Camp.
Where's
where
that,
you get to see
Showtime
his. No, it's a cheesy horror movie, but you get to see his ass in it too. He pulls his britches down.
Britches.
But anyway, listen, the FBI uses Denise as bait. They let her go into this, what appears to be a big house, if I'm not mistaken. I don't ever remember seeing a cabin like this at the lake.
Yeah.
She's taking a shower. She's putting soap all over them tetes. And all of a sudden, Jason's after her. And she runs outside and lures him into this trap where the FBI is in a circle shooting at Jason, which I thought was fantastic. And finally, they finish him off. They got spotlights, they got night lights, everything, and then they finish him off with a grenade launcher.
Yes.
Yeah.
And blow him apart. I just thought that, we're 9 movies in. These local cops ain't getting it done. Let's call in the FBI.
And
Smart.
Isn't he grunting during that scene too?
Screaming.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Dude, I remember watching that. I remember we rented that movie for like my 13th birthday or something like that. And I remember watching it. We were all pumped, me and my friends, and like that opening scene happened and we were just like, what? Like it was just confusing. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, and it was awesome, right?
Yes.
When you were a kid, and
Yes.
that's the opening scene. You're like, holy crap, this is fantastic. They just killed Jason in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. One thing I do like about that though is the fact that they have that TV program where they're talking about all his killings and stuff like that. I can't remember what the name of it's called.
Hard copy.
Yes.
It's not hard. It's not hard
It's not?
copy.
Okay.
No, hard copy was what they was basing it off of.
Okay, yeah, but I like that they brought it into the kind of the real world a little bit like there. That's exactly what would happen. But it just was odd, especially at the beginning. It's just like you're just like blown away by it. It's crazy. All right, what do you got, Ronnie?
Okay, I got a few on this list, and hopefully we do honorable mentions.
Yeah, we can do some honorable mentions.
Okay, so
In the chat, Ronnie Lavelle Jackson says the problem with the world today is people don't know how to listen, debate, and accept a different view than their own.
don't you think Nick wants to read great comments like that?
Yeah, Blake can read them. That's all good. Yeah, no, I think Lavelle's absolutely correct.
Lavelle, the only way that could be spoken any better is if it was with a $10 super chat. All right, my next one is I'm going with part 5. Okay, the copycat killer, people hate it. I don't know why, because you still get a Jason all throughout the movie, and you don't know that it's not Jason. You think it's Jason, so you shouldn't be shocked until the very end of it. That's when okay, so it wasn't Jason. Why is Roy killing any of these people? Roy gave up his son, Joey, the minute he saw that he was Edit, and never looked back. And apparently has never even seen him until he pulls the sheet back and sees him all cut up. So why is he so outraged that a son that he abandoned and still lived in the same small town gets murdered? Why does he get mad enough to kill all these people? He kills the gay bikers out in the woods. He kills 2 people screwing by a mud puddle. He kills the homeless guy. He kills all these. I understand why he would want to kill the people at the camp, sort of, but he kills all kind of people around the psycho camp. So it makes zero sense that Roy would want to avenge the death of a son that he abandoned.
Yeah, and I love the way that when they show his body and they pull up the sheet or whatever, I love the way the camera just kind of zooms in on Roy's face and then nothing. You never see him again. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Why were there by the barn? Why were there those spikes just laying there? Is that like normal for a barn to just have a bed of spikes, like it's a Roadrunner cartoon or something?
I figured they were doing something like from Heavyweights, where the main guy of the camp would get out there and lay on the spikes and have them bust the cinder blocks over his stomach with a sledgehammer, and he could show them the zen of inner peace.
You think Matt was doing that?
Yeah, how to attain inner peace.
Oh, is that you guys that did a video saying it looked like Matt?
Looks exactly like Matt.
Yes.
When the thing. I love that Roy took the time to get the bald cap too. It's all connected. So. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I agree with you. Okay, my second to last one here is from Friday the 13th, Part 3. It is at the very end of the movie when Chris is in the boat and she's safety, and it's not the dream of Jason, but it is all of a sudden Mrs. Voorhees with a head on jumps out of the water and pulls her under. I understand why they did it, because they wanted to, do a jump scare like the original, but obviously it makes no fucking sense. Why is Mrs. Voorhees down there? This is the same movie that opened with the end of Part 2 when we see her head on a table, and I think it actually winks at us when they play the maybe it doesn't wink at us, but doesn't it wink at us or no?
Don't think so, but it might.
Oh, okay, but
I am old.
Well, so am I. But yeah, so her head is on her body. She's wearing that stupid ass sweater. She jumps under the water and pulls Chris up. Now, I could see if Chris had some knowledge of, Jason's backstory, where she could possibly be hallucinating, something like that. But she doesn't know anything about Jason except for the fact that, as Blake referenced earlier, she had a relationship with him years prior. So it doesn't make any goddamn sense. I don't know what they were thinking except for a little shock and awe with the audience and a wink and a nod. But I thought it was stupid. So Scott Royston sends in a super chat, another $10. Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate it, my friend. Says people today are so fake. Look at it like getting rid of people who aren't genuine. I'm a Gen Xer from the 70s. I can agree to disagree. That is the most beautiful thing you will ever experience in friendship. Absolutely 100% agree with you, Scott. And people just say agree to disagree nowadays. Just any time that there's some argument, just to end the argument. But
it's the douche way to end it now. Agree to disagree.
It is, but there was a way, I should say, where you could legitimately disagree and, just sit down and have a beer after and be like, I don't agree with you, man, but it's okay. But now it's just like everyone, they're not even listening to what you're saying. They're just thinking of what they're going to say in response to it. So it's just ridiculous. I agree with you, Scott. Thank you so much for the super chat, buddy.
And Nick's not talking about politics. He's talking about Halloween ends. They already have.
Yeah, right.
So they're not going to listen to any good things that come from it because it's not the 1978 version. Yeah. And here's the thing. There's never going to be another one of those. Even when they do the step-by-step remake that they're going to do eventually again, it's not going to be that movie. So you've got to embrace the change.
It shouldn't be. If I want to watch that movie, I'll watch that movie. I got plenty of copies,
It's like when they bring Jason back. I mean, I don't think it should be zombie Jason. I think it should be a hillbilly / mentally challenged / crazy / a bad
Republican
wild man out in the woods that is killing people because he doesn't want them around the lake. I don't think you need to go into any backstory. I don't think you need to copy anything because it's the most simplest form of horror that you can do. Madman in the woods, teens go into the wrong place, tracks them, kills them. They either escape or they don't. So I don't know why you need a backstory to Mrs. Loomis. I've got so sour on Mrs. Loomis after saying you need to embrace the new things. And I don't even know what that show is going to be about. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Sorry.
It's all good.
Are you saying Mrs. Loomis?
Did I say Mrs. Loomis? I meant Mrs. Voorhees.
Yeah. That's okay. We know what you meant.
Ridiculous, Ronnie.
All right. Blake, last one. What do you got?
Oh, this is my last one?
Yeah, so you can get some honorable mentions after we're done.
You know what? I'm going to go with Friday the 13th Part 4. And I really liked yours, Nick, of the tough guy screaming, he's killing me. I'm not going to mention Rob going outside with his machete while leaving his gun in the tent. But I am going to mention the newspaper that Rob is carrying around that has a photograph of Jason in it. And if you're keeping up with the timeline in Friday the 13th, 2, 3, and 4 all take place within 3 or 4 days of each other. So how we find out, I mean, how these, and honestly, I was going to talk about the Jarvises living at Crystal Lake and not having any kind of interaction with Jason. I was going to talk about Rick living at Crystal Lake and not having an interaction with Jason. I think I said Jake. I'm talking about Jason. But like this place should be crawling with cops and ambulances right now over what's happened the last 2 or 3 days. But instead, we just get people that, didn't watch the previous movies and say, oh, this takes place the next day or this takes place 2 days later. And we get a photograph of Jason, of this guy looking for his sister who's missing. She's been missing for 3 days. But I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm getting lost in my own head. But they make it out. They put a picture of Jason in this newspaper like he's been a legend at this lake for 20 years, and it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's an up close photo too of him with the mask on.
Yeah. It's like they said, hey, Jason, real quick, like he's on the red carpet.
He's only had the mask for a couple of days, a week at the most.
Yeah.
And like Blake said, just to add what Blake was talking about, Part 2 and Part 3 are like a day or two apart. So the minute they find all these dead people in Part 2, the police are shutting down this whole area of the lake. They're going to shut down the whole perimeter. If you're near the lake, they're going to get you out of there because they should be bringing in like the state troopers and everything else for this many deaths. So there should be no interaction on that lake. They shouldn't even be allowing people into the town of Crystal Lake. So Crispin Glover and that whole crew should have got stopped right there at the edge of town. And like, no, you can't come in. Hundreds of people are dying. You got to go back home. So that's kind of unrealistic too. But you also need to look at it for as much credit as we give these movies. They were released a year or 2 years apart. So that's the way they're looking at it when they're writing it, instead of treating it like, at the beginning of it, they're treating it like, okay, well, this just happened.
Yeah.
But The rest of the movie is not like it just happened, which it should have been. And plus, if the police stop him from coming in, you can't have a damn movie. So what are we talking about?
Right. Yeah, I agree. It literally, I just don't understand what they're thinking sometimes at some of this. And I think it's just, they didn't think anyone was going to be paying attention to the continuity, like we are now. We're breaking down shit like this, but still, you think that they'd just take a moment and be like, well, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But guess not. So, yeah, I agree. That's a good one, Blake. All right, what do you got, Ronnie?
I'm going back to part 7, and you guys talked about the dad coming up out of the water. I'm going to talk about something that happens right before that. She uses the furnace catches on fire. She sprays him down with gasoline. He catches on fire. Her and Nick leave the house. They get to the dock. The house explodes like it's full of C4 and nuclear bombs, levels the area. And 20 seconds later, Jason is on the dock smoking. That's the only damage that's been done to him. The house blew apart. It left a crater in the earth. And his clothes haven't even been burned off of him after catching on fire. And you get that like 30-second scene of him on fire, even slow-mo, before they get out of the house. So his clothes should have been burned off of him. With that comes the burning up of the one good eye he has. He shouldn't be able to see anything. He should at least be butt-ass naked out there. Instead, the clothes are still there. He's smoking like he's out of the Roadrunner cartoon, and everything's okay. That would have been a better way to end that movie, is to just blow that house up, because you don't know where his body is.
Yeah.
Could have blew him into the woods.
Yeah.
And you could still go back to, the last scene you see is them putting out the fire, finding the mask as it, torn apart, and loading those two up into an ambulance to go away. But I mean, then you don't have the great ending, quote unquote, that we're still talking about 30 years later. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like you said, you make a good point. Like they had the ending where could set up another sequel where Jason just shows up,
Yeah, everybody in the chat, go check out the house explosion. You can find it easily, easy search on YouTube. This house is leveled by this explosion. There should be nothing left of Jason. This would have been a perfect way to end this movie.
Yeah, agreed. It's a good one. All right, my last one is from Jason Takes Manhattan, and it's essentially the entire scene in the sewer. Not only do you have every night at midnight, New York City, the sewer system in New York City fills up with toxic waste. Like a fucking river of toxic waste. Every night at midnight. That's reality in this. Then you also have, Jason getting sucked into this, or getting hit by this toxic waste, and turning into a little boy. Like, what? And that's how the movie ends. And then at the beginning of the next movie, he's back, just with the mask, built into his head. It's just weird. Like, of everything that they were doing in that movie, and there's a lot of weird shit. He's teleporting, and he's wet the whole movie. The fact that that's how they decided to end it, it's just weird. How could you make people believe that New York City, of all cities, I mean, not of all cities, but any city, and especially New York, just being, the most famous city in the world, essentially, the sewer system fills up with toxic sludge. In what, 1988? Is that when this came out? 89? 89. So yeah, that's my kind of WTF moment. Before we get to your guys' honorable mentions, Shape of Horror Podcast, Bud says, sends in $9.99. Thanks, Bud. Appreciate it, man. Says the most shocking moment in F-13 history is Vicky thinking brown granny panties would help get it up for the paralyzed guy. That's right. Doesn't she change into those too? Yeah.
And she sprays that perfume downtown.
Yeah.
She sprays that monkey.
Edit.
God, yes, that's a good one, Bud. All right, you guys had some honorable mentions. Blake, you said you had a couple you wanted to mention? Or did we get to them?
Yeah. No. I got one that I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Darren and Frank talked about this on their...
For those that don't know, who's Darren and Frank?
It's just two buddies of mine and Ronnie's.
Okay.
But yeah, they talked about it, and I can't believe I've never noticed this, and I'm curious to see if you guys have noticed this in the original when Mrs. Voorhees is chasing Alice. First off, she's doing this weird thing to the camera when Alice is doing Mrs. Voorhees is doing this. It's just. But anyway, Alice goes into this room, and behind her on the wall is just an arsenal of guns and weapons and just anything you can think of that she could easily grab and defeat Mrs. Voorhees. But instead, she picks up a piece of yarn or string and throws it at Mrs. Voorhees.
Wait, what?
It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely
I've never
ridiculous.
noticed that.
She picks up string, and I went back and watched it. She picks up string and throws it at Mrs. Voorhees.
What? I've never
And on
noticed that.
on the wall behind her are just rifles and guns and just everything that they would use on that range outside.
Jesus, I can't believe I never noticed that. I got to watch that now. That's good. You have any you wanted to mention, Ronnie?
Yeah, I've got two.
Okay.
Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Why is he afraid of water? Why is Jason afraid of water?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, in no other movie has he shown fear of water. He dog paddles out after Tommy Jarvis in part 6. He's hiding in the water in part 4.
Yeah.
I thought it made zero sense. Now somebody's gonna say, well, that's how he died. Well, yeah, he understands how he died in the movies as well, and he never shows a fear of water.
Yeah, he swims to New York City.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, he's like under. Yeah, exactly. So it makes zero sense for them to do that. The other one, part 5, there's a homeless, ugly guy that shows up and says he hadn't ate in 3 days. Now, anybody that's from the South or a rural area, there are no bums / homeless people in rural areas. They don't live in the woods, people. They're in urban areas where there's, food and people to beg stuff from. There's not just somebody wandering around in the woods to wander up on Ethel's property and go, I need to fill my belly. I hadn't eaten in 3 days. No, those people do not exist. So that may be more unrealistic than anything else in that movie. And
who the F are you? What the F do you want?
The third one that I forgot to put on here is over multiple movies, there are people getting windmilled and tossed through windows. So in part 1, Mrs. Voorhees throws one of the girls' bodies through a window. I think it's in part 4. He throws Rob through half the wall. Now, I understand how Jason does that. And then Roy throws Cookie from part 5, the old Grandpa Cook, through the window. So I want to see a scene of those guys, winding up like the throwing the shot put to try to throw these bodies through these windows outside. There's no way Mrs. Voorhees could throw a body through a window. You're not getting that much air. So that's definitely one of the most unrealistic things that you find in these movies. Jason half the wall goes when he throws Rob through there. So that's not happening. So
Yeah. No, that's a good point. There's a lot of believability factors that it's interesting what your mind doesn't really think of until you actually break it down. So yeah, I'm with you.
I love that we just went through 15 moments and none of us mentioned Jason X in space.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious.
Well, that's one of my honorable mentions is they turned Crystal Lake into a research facility. Just absolutely. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, they did give sort of a backstory there that they figured out they couldn't execute him, so then they started testing and doing scientific
regenerative powers, and they want to use it for the military.
They did come up with a half-assed excuse for why they were doing that, but it's still ridiculous. You're going to turn that area into a government facility.
Yeah.
That's another one though, where they're just like, we can't get the Freddy versus Jason movie rolling yet, so we've got to make a movie. So let's just do.
I think they either needed to keep the rights. They needed to make another movie to keep the rights, and then they wanted to keep it in the public consciousness. So
they set it in the future so it wouldn't affect the current timeline,
right?
So that they could keep Freddy and Jason, sort of around the same area without anything bad happening. So they just set it 500 years in the future.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. All right, so before I pretend to thank you guys for coming on, what do you guys got going on your channel? Any big plans? I know you. I think you got a live stream coming up later this week, right?
Yeah, Thursday we got a live review of Tango and Cash. I think it's 8:00. So if you guys want to stop in and listen to us talk about Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell in one of the most underrated action movies ever, you're welcome to stop by and listen to us talk. We have some Scream content on the way. We just haven't decided what Scream content we're going to do. We're trying to avoid the whole is Stu alive or is Stu dead, because I think it's kind of ridiculous. I know there's like a contingent of fans out there that want Stu back, and I really don't want to make that video considering I think he's dead. So, I mean, what do you think about that, Nick? I mean, I know you made a video, but are they going to bring Stu back?
I think it's possible, but I hope they don't.
Doesn't this franchise lose all credibility when that happens? And what I mean by that is I've been thinking a lot about this. Scream still has credibility. The first one is realistic. The second one is realistic. Even the third one, you can argue that Roman's all over the place as a single killer, but they wrote that movie with two killers in mind. But it's still realistic. Part 4, obviously realistic, and Part 5, realistic. So they have credibility with their fan base, and almost all movies are watchable when they all are watchable and very good movies. The minute you start bringing back somebody that's been dead and not even been mentioned in 5 movies or 4 movies since he was in there, I think it waters down the brand. I think it maybe even turns the brand towards a direction they don't want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And that's what gets me is the fact that he was not mentioned. So you have 4 other movies with Sidney, Dewey, and Gale all trying to figure out who the killer is. And if Stu is alive, you're telling me, A, he's either not a suspect because he's in jail, or B, he's not a suspect because they just decide not to mention him. So if he's all of a sudden alive and, you know, either on the lam or whatever, the fact that they wouldn't consider him, you know, I feel like that would be the studio telling me as a fan and their audience, you're an idiot. You'll believe anything. You'll believe whatever we tell you to. You know, these loud section of fans want him back. It's going to make us money. So we don't really give a fuck about you. We don't give a fuck about believability. You know, we just want your money. And I know, I mean, I know that's kind of all movies, but it's just, I don't want to be watching Scream 2 when Randy's like, you know, so who's the killer? When Randy and Dewey are talking about who the killer is, and knowing that, oh, well, Stu survived part 1, but they didn't mention him. What the fuck?
Yeah, and why hasn't Gail went to the prison where he's supposedly at to talk to him, writing her book, and things like that? Right. So I don't know if there's a realistic way. There are ways to do it. Yeah. There are ways to do it. You could do the whole new timeline thing. Scream 1 happened, then you can make it like Billy died, shot in the head, obviously. Stu lived somehow. So Stu's in prison and it's 30 years later. So he's getting out because he's apparently well now. You could even, the best route they should go, that I don't think they will, is they should do the new Nightmare route. That would have all the OG Scream fans like really jacked up to know that they're going to bring all of them back. And 30 years after the release of the movies, somebody's out there dressed as Ghostface trying to kill off the original cast. I think that's a $200 million idea.
Holy shit. Not only is that a great idea, but it's a tribute to Wes Craven.
Wes Craven, exactly.
Yeah. That's good.
But it seems like the current crew that's writing these movies, I know everybody seems to know them from that movie with the blonde chick that I've never seen. She's
Ready or Not.
Yeah, I've never seen that, but it seems like they're going to do the requel of each movie. So they did the requel of part 1. Yeah. They're obviously going to do a requel of part 2 with the whole college atmosphere. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me to see, you know, them go the route of a requel for the third one and have one person be the mastermind behind it. And I've told you who I think it's going to be, but I like to think outside the box. But as far as our channel, you know, long story short, Tango and Cash on Thursday, check it out. And we've got a ton of horror reviews, a ton of regular movie reviews. Go over there and check it out. Sub if you want to. If not, it's okay.
Yeah,
Blake,
make sure if you're watching this, make sure you guys go check their channel out. At least give them a chance. They're good guys. They got good content. I wouldn't steer you wrong. I wouldn't have them on here if I didn't think that they had a great channel. And like Blake mentioned earlier, we the three of us have become borderline friends, right? I'd say borderline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say borderline.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Real quick, guys. In the chat, Tommy Mayfield helped us out. He said on the outhouses, the sun is for men, the moon is for women, and the crescent moon is for all.
Hey,
Wow.
He's exactly right. I remember looking that up for our audio podcast. It has to do with women and men.
And Scott
Interesting.
Royston is killing it in the chat. He was saying his WTF moments were part 8. He completely swims underwater the entire time from boat to shore
Yeah.
without anybody noticing. But all of a sudden, he's scared of water. And he also says he's coming out of the water at the end of Freddy versus Jason. So the whole thing is stupid.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Almost
right.
like this shit don't make sense.
Hey, Ronnie, Bud just said Patrick Swayze turned down Tango and Cash after blowing his knee out in Roadhouse.
He's absolutely right. I already knew that.
I didn't know that.
Which
I did not know that.
what was he going to be in that?
He was going to be Kurt Russell.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure. See if Bud knows. I think he was going to be Kurt Russell's part. I think Sylvester Stallone was in it from the beginning,
Okay.
and they went through multiple people. So
Ronnie, you know how much we love Kurt Russell, but I'm not 100% sure that movie wouldn't be better with Crazy Swayze.
it would have not been better with Swayze.
Man, I don't know.
I do know.
I got a super chat from Lavelle Jackson sending in $10. Thank you so
Look at
much,
this guy.
Lavelle.
We shamed him into it. We
Appreciate
shamed.
Says apparently in part 5, the stew is listed in the YouTube video they were watching in the hospital. Yes, I know that they had Kirby listed in that YouTube video. Was Stu in there? I'll have to relook at that. Thanks, Lavelle. Thanks. I'm gonna have to check that out again and kind of slow it down.
Matthew Lillard's in the party scene in part 2.
That's right. He is. You're right.
Got blonde hair.
That's where these rumors all started about him coming back for part 3, and that's where they got the idea. Yeah.
Everybody likes to go to the part 3 where they're supposed to be a cult and things like that, but they blame that on Columbine, so they didn't want to do a whole cult. But that would have been stupid too, because in part 2, like you said, they don't mention that Stu is alive. And anybody that has seen the movie Copycat knows that that's probably the best way you're going to go if you're going to use Stu. Stu is in prison. He's connecting with these psychos out there on the internet, trying to get them to do his bidding. And it's a great idea if he wasn't dead in the timeline.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Agreed.
Shout out to Copycat.
Good movie. Good movie. All right. So like I said, guys, check out their channel. They got a lot of good shit, a lot of fun shit. They do a lot of horror stuff and a lot of other things like Hulk Hogan that Blake has there. As far as my channel here, tomorrow night we got Fancy Talk with Bud, the Shape of Horror podcast, and like I said, Blaster's gonna attempt to make an appearance. Hopefully he can make it.
What's Bud's deal?
What's Bud's deal?
Yeah, what's he do?
As far as
Anything in life. I want to get down, but tomorrow let's talk about on Fancy Talk.
Yeah.
What happened with the Halloween verse? It is shattered into so many different elements. I want to know what happened. Why we don't get the trivia anymore. I'm still sour that we were supposed to come on for Halloween 4 trivia.
That's right.
Had all these questions, and I would like for the first 40. I'm not asking for much. First 45 minutes of the Fancy Talk podcast tomorrow, just address what happened with the Halloween verse. I want to know what Bud does for a living. I want to know what's going on outside that window. Does he have a poster over a window, or is it LED lights in the corner? There's so many questions I have going on. Where does he live? Things like that.
we will answer all of that tomorrow, so make sure you guys tune in.
Hey, what's tomorrow's topic?
Top 10 movies set in New York City.
Okay, Blake, real quick. Best movie set in New York City.
Yeah, what do you guys got?
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Scream
That's on my
6.
list.
Okay, what else? What's the name of the movie? They killed Nacho.
Made in Manhattan.
Cowboy Way.
This is a really Ronnie. This is a really good. So we actually should go live in the morning.
It's a good topic.
It's a really good topic.
Independence Day.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. New York's like a character in the movie, you know.
Ghostbusters is like a perfect movie, right?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Ghostbusters is one of the movies, sort of like Jaws. It's a perfect movie. Like
we're naming all the movies Nick's on Nick's list.
You named it. You named a few.
Oh, King Kong.
Nick, who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Shane McMahon.
Jesus. No.
Nick, that's wrong. That's the wrong answer. That's not what we're looking for.
No. Blake, tell him who the best wrestler of all time is.
Well, I don't know about singles wrestler, but
what happened to your
Nick,
light in the background? It's gone.
Well, the boys rearranged their furniture, so there's no more lights. No more snowman picture either.
Got that horse and that cow.
Who you got, Blake? The Rockers? Is that what you're gonna say?
No, actually, Ronnie and I were a tag team, and you've heard of the band 9 Inch Nails?
Mm-hmm.
Ronnie and I were the 9 Inch Males.
All right. On that note, guys, perfect way to end. You guys are gonna get a lot of subs just for that comment. I have 9.2% of my audience is female, so I'm sure all of them will head over to All the Good Names Are Taken podcast.
You check those analytics a lot to know 9.2%
Yeah,
female.
Ronnie, will you let him wrap it up?
I don't want to go. I'm just trying to hold him into the. I mean, the longer we talk, the more one of these other people is going to donate him more money. That is 2 more packs of Cools that he can smoke. I mean, Lavelle came through with the $10. I usually check the chat.
It did.
Lavelle, thank you for
Yes,
giving.
Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you for watching. Ronnie Blake, appreciate you guys being on. Seriously, got to do this again sometime. Thank you guys.
I'm available every week, Nick.
All right.
I'm not coming back, Nick. I don't like doing other shows, but I just love you, so I was going to come on here.
It's appreciated. All right. See you guys later.